Long Island, New York, a picturesque area known for its beaches, upscale homes, and quiet suburban streets. But beneath the serene surface, a dark and terrifying mystery has been hiding in plain sight for over a decade. This is the story of the Long Island serial killer, a case that has haunted the region for years, with victims found in desolate areas and a killer still at large. Despite the media frenzy, numerous investigations, and public interest, the mystery of the Long Island serial killer remains unsolved. It all started in 2010, when police were searching for a missing woman named Shannan Gilbert. Shannan, a 24-year-old escort, had disappeared after leaving a client's home in Oak Beach, a small community on Long Island. Her frantic 911 call was the last trace of her, and she seemed to be screaming for help. Her call would lead investigators to the discovery of something far more sinister than just a missing person case. During their search for Shannan, the police stumbled upon the remains of 4 women along a secluded stretch of highway near Gilgo Beach. These women, identified as escorts, had been brutally murdered. The discovery would soon unravel a chilling web of crimes, suggesting the work of a serial killer operating right beneath the radar. The bodies were discovered wrapped in burlap sacks, discarded on the edges of the highway. It was clear that these women had been deliberately hidden, as if the killer wanted to make sure they weren't found. The victims were women who led lives many would rather forget, escorts, vulnerable and marginalized. Their names were not well known to the public before their deaths, but their stories were no less tragic. The first victim identified was Melissa Barthelemy, a 24-year-old who went missing in July of 2009. She was the first to be found along the highway, and her remains were discovered just weeks after Shannan Gilbert's disappearance. The second victim, Megan Waterman, was 22 years old and had vanished in June 2010. She too was found in the same area as the others, and it soon became evident that this was no random crime. As more bodies were discovered, authorities began to realize they were dealing with a serial killer. Other victims like Amber Lynn Costello and Maureen Brainerd Barnes, all women who had worked as escorts or had been involved in the sex trade, were discovered. The killer targeted women who were, in a sense, invisible. He chose people who society often overlooks, and the brutality with which they were treated makes this case all the more horrifying. The Long Island serial killer, or the Gilgo Beach killer, as he came to be known, struck with chilling precision. The investigation began with a focus on finding Shannan Gilbert, but quickly turned into a hunt for a serial murderer. Despite the discovery of the bodies, the investigation faced significant challenges. The lack of physical evidence at the scene, the absence of clear surveillance footage, and the overwhelming number of leads that led nowhere left investigators grasping for answers. The case became even more perplexing when Shannan Gilbert's body was found in December 2011, more than a year after she had vanished. Her remains were discovered in a marshy area near the other victims, but her death was ruled to be an accidental drowning. The circumstances surrounding her death remain mysterious. Over the years, several theories and suspects have emerged, but none have been proven. Could the killer be a local resident, familiar with the area? Could the killer have worked in law enforcement or the medical profession, given the precision with which the victims were disposed of? One theory suggests that the killer may have been someone with inside knowledge of the area. The bodies were disposed of in places that seemed carefully chosen, and the killer's ability to evade capture suggested a sophisticated understanding of law enforcement methods. But despite all the speculation, no suspect has ever been definitively tied to the murders. Investigators have poured through countless leads, but the killer continues to evade justice. The Long Island serial killer is believed to be a highly methodical individual. The killer didn't leave behind typical forensic evidence, and the bodies were hidden in a way that showed deliberate planning. The fact that the victims were all sex workers points to a possible motive tied to power and control. The killer likely had a twisted view of women, seeing them as disposable. They targeted women who, in his mind, wouldn't be missed or noticed. This suggests someone who is detached, calculating, and enjoys the control they exert over their victims. Many believe that the killer may have escalated from killing one victim to killing many, becoming more emboldened by each murder. The search for answers continues. As of today, the case remains unsolved. Every year, New investigators join the ranks of those who have worked tirelessly to uncover the truth, but the killer's identity remains a mystery. While many believe that the case will one day be solved, the passage of time and the killer's ability to remain undetected only adds to the mystery. The families of the victims continue to wait for closure. They hope for justice, and they hope that one day the person responsible for these horrific crimes will be brought to light. The Long Island serial killer case is a tragedy that has left a mark on the community. It is a case that continues to baffle authorities and one that continues to intrigue the public. As we wait for answers, we must remember the victims, the lives lost, and the families who are still searching for closure. The mystery of the Long Island serial killer is far from over. Will the killer ever be found? Only time will tell. If you want to learn more about this case and other chilling mysteries, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Leave your thoughts and theories in the comments below. Let's keep this conversation going. May 3rd, 2007. A quiet, ordinary evening in the small coastal resort of Praia da Luz, Portugal. A family's vacation, one that was supposed to be filled with joy, sunshine, and memories, instead became the beginning of one of the most high-profile disappearances in modern history. Madeline McCann, a 3-year-old girl from United Kingdom, was enjoying a holiday with her parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, and her younger twin siblings. But when her parents went to check on her that fateful evening, their daughter was gone. In the blink of an eye, Madeline McCann vanished, leaving behind only questions, suspicions, and a trail of leads that would never fully unravel the mystery of what happened to her. In 2007, Kate and Jerry McCann, both doctors from Leicestershire, took their 3 children on a holiday to the Algarve in southern Portugal. They stayed at the Ocean Club Resort in Praia da Luz, a popular destination for families. Madeline, along with her younger twin siblings, Sean and Amelie, was staying in an apartment with her parents. The family had been enjoying their time in Portugal, eating out, swimming in the pool, and sightseeing. On the evening of May 3rd, 2007, Kate and Jerry McCann left their children in their apartment to go to a nearby restaurant with friends. It was a short walk to the restaurant, and they could see their apartment from where they sat. The children were asleep in their bedroom, and the parents had arranged for regular checks by friends and themselves. The plan was simple: enjoy dinner and check on the children. Around 10 p.m., Kate McCann went to check on the children. She first went to the twins' room, where she found them sleeping peacefully. But when she went into Madeline's room, her heart sank. The bed was empty. Madeline McCann was gone. The window was open, and there was a gap in the shutters, as though someone had entered or exited through it. Kate immediately alerted Jerry and their friends. Panic set in. Kate and Jerry, along with friends, began frantically searching the resort. They checked the beach, the streets, and even called for help from local residents. But Madeline was nowhere to be found. At 10:30 p.m., the police were called. The search had begun, but with every passing minute, hope began to fade. The investigation began immediately. Portuguese authorities, along with local police, started combing the area. Dogs were brought in to track Madeline's scent, and helicopters were deployed to search from the air. But despite extensive efforts, there were no immediate signs of Madeline. Authorities began questioning people at the resort and asking for any information that could lead to her whereabouts. Surveillance footage from the resort's nearby buildings was reviewed, but nothing concrete emerged. Within a few days, Portuguese police shifted the focus of the investigation. The McCanns were formally questioned, and the police began to treat the case as a possible abduction. However, many felt that the investigation was hindered by missteps, lack of resources, and a failure to act quickly. As the investigation unfolded, theories started to emerge. The most prominent theory was that Madeline had been abducted, but by whom and why? Theories ranged from the involvement of a local to a random stranger, but nothing concrete could be established. As the days passed and no leads emerged, the media coverage of Madeline's disappearance exploded. The case became an international news story, and the McCanns became the face of the search for their missing daughter. Public opinion was split. Some believed the McCanns were innocent parents whose child had been tragically taken, while others started to question the McCanns' role in her disappearance. Media speculation ranged from theories about the McCanns' potential involvement to suggestions that Madeline had died accidentally and her parents had been involved in covering it up. The pressure mounted. The McCanns were subjected to intense scrutiny, and there was no shortage of public criticism. The media's portrayal of the case took a toll on the investigation, adding layers of complexity and confusion. But despite all the noise, the most important question remained: where was Madeleine McCann? As the investigation stretched on, several theories began to surface about what had happened to Madeleine. The most popular and widely accepted theory was that she had been abducted, but the question of why and by whom remained a mystery. Various suspects came under the radar, including local residents, tourists, and even previously convicted criminals. One of the most prominent figures in the investigation was a man named Robert Murad, a British expatriate living in Praia da Luz at the time. He was initially named as a suspect, but he was later cleared of any involvement. There were also unconfirmed reports of a man seen in the area on the night of Madeleine's disappearance, as well as sightings of suspicious individuals around the time. Yet, none of these leads ever panned out. As the years went on, the investigation turned into a global manhunt, with agencies from around the world, including the UK's Scotland Yard, becoming involved. The search expanded to other countries as investigators sought new leads, new witnesses, and new evidence. The McCanns never gave up hope. They worked tirelessly with private investigators, raising funds through the media and a public campaign. They became a symbol of the fight for missing children, continuing to speak out, even when the trail seemed to grow cold. Madeleine McCann's case has not only captured the world's attention, but also sparked widespread discussions about child abduction, media influence, and the complexities of missing persons investigations. The search for Madeleine continues to this day, even after over a decade. Although no answers have been found, Madeleine's disappearance has contributed to a larger conversation about missing children. The case has prompted changes in international law, with better coordination between countries, as well as a heightened sense of urgency when it comes to investigating child disappearances. Madeleine McCann's disappearance remains one of the most haunting and unsolved mysteries of our time. Despite extensive media coverage, tireless investigations, and countless theories, the question still remains: what happened to Madeleine McCann? For her parents, Kate and Jerry, the pain of not knowing the truth remains unbearable. But they continue to hold on to the hope that one day, their daughter will be found and the mystery of her disappearance will be solved. Until that day comes, we must remember that behind every headline, every theory, and every piece of evidence, there's a family who is still searching for answers. If you have any information on Madeleine McCann's disappearance, or if you followed this case, leave a comment below. Share your thoughts, theories, and any insights you may have. And don't forget to subscribe for more unsolved mysteries.